Hey guys, for those of you who follow signs of the times and are paying attention to wars and rumors of wars, this one is kind of interesting. There were fiber cables cut beneath the Red Sea, and this is affecting internet speed and traffic for a couple of countries in the Middle East. AP's reporting on this, Times of Israel's reporting on this too. Times of Israel said that this may be connected to Yemen's Houthi rebels who had talked about doing this as part of a pressure tactic to get Israel to stop the war with Hamas. And this is affecting mostly Pakistan and India at this point, and it doesn't really say how long it's going to take to fix this, but it'll cause slower internet speeds. This to me is kind of interesting because August 2nd, 2027, there's going to be a solar eclipse that kind of mirrors the ones that we had here in the United States that started in 2017 and then they crisscrossed over basically the heartland of America, including where the Saints were trying to settle in Missouri and several other church history sites. And the second one in the Middle East that crosses over the Red Sea will be March 20th, 2024. And this is interesting to me because it just makes me think of two exoduses. I always think of like the exodus of the saints in early church history and how they went from east to west. And then I think of the exodus of Moses with the children of Israel. They actually went west to east. And I don't know, I see it as a sign of the times. So you guys can tell me what you think. I see it as a sign. To me, it's interesting because these only happen like every like 380 something years. There's actually a website that I could pull up that has a ton of information on this. It's where I got this specific little diagram here. But anyway, I don't really know what it means, but it does make me think of that. And I see it as just kind of like a sign in the heavens and in the earth, just maybe like a general reminder, especially because it went over Cumorah, Kirtland, Adamonte Amen, these places in church history, this eclipse. And then there was this really interesting like Ring of Fire one that passed over Utah. And I actually got to see that one. I went to the Manti Temple and saw it, and it was really cool. It's just neat to have something like this happen in your lifetime. A lot of people don't get an opportunity to stand in one spot where two eclipses pass over within 7 years. And I have another diagram I'll show you guys here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so here is a little diagram that I had made a long time ago. I just was trying to figure out what the days were involved in these eclipses and just some of the symbolism that it was making me think of. I kind of plotted it out on this little chart here. Let me see if I can zoom in. It's kind of small. Hopefully you can see that a little better. But pretty much this is how it's all laid out. And there is a midpoint coming up on these eclipses, and it will be happening in December of this year. It is right here. I called it the eclipse chiasmus because it is the midpoint between the first eclipse that happened over the United States in 2017 and then the one that mirrors it in 2034. And I just thought this pattern of eclipses was so interesting because they form kind of like this Aleph and Tav. I know a lot of people have talked about that. I had done like a huge kind of like little post about this a long time ago, kind of asking around about it a little bit because I saw a lot of people talking about these American ones, but nobody really talking about these other ones over the Red Sea. But to me, that's actually what made the ones in America seem super important because, yeah, they went over church history sites, and that was another reason why they seemed kind of significant because it's just interesting that they went over all those sites. But what made it, I think, even more interesting is that that pattern was going to repeat in such a short amount of time. I mean, there's only like 3.5 years between, it's like 3.25 years between the eclipses, the set of eclipses in America and the set in the Middle East. And because two exoduses took place in these locations, it just seemed really interesting. And so you can kind of see here, I had noted just little things that it was making me think of. Like, for example, I kind of plotted it out and was thinking about like the Roman watches and how that has a lot of symbolism. I'd done like a whole video series you guys can watch that is all about the bride bridegroom motif. I get into the harvest symbolism, and it kind of just touches on all these different symbols. And it's like a whole playlist on my YouTube channel. And anyway, so I always thought these were kind of interesting. It made me think about like the five temple covenants, because there's like five like groupings of 1211 days. And it just, I don't know, it was just, there was so much here. It was just so interesting. I put a little bit of zodiac symbolism, like the Maseroth on here, and kind of thinking harvest, Roman watches, just all the different ways that you can kind of think of end time symbolism, and just trying to see like how that fit with these eclipses. And it's all just kind of food for thought. I mean, I don't even really have like a conclusion or anything. I would actually love to know your guys' thoughts. If you have some, please put it in the comments. How are you guys seeing all of these just kind of wars and rumors, wars, signs in the heavens? Do you see a connection there? Do you see this being of any type of significance? Does it make you think of anything specific related to the church, church history, biblical history, the second coming? Like, what are your thoughts on these things? Would love to know. Leave a comment and share what you've got.